Welcome to the smartest people in the room. We are glad you are here, and just by showing up, you're already demonstrating your very own smarts. Today, I am pleased to present two of my favorite Nashville homies who have, between them, have nearly a century of music industry wisdom to share, and I promise you will leave smarter and more enlightened than you arrived. Before we get started, please let me take care of some business. First, to the audience, please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat window. The reason we do these webinars is twofold. First, we want to showcase really smart people and the amazing work they do day to day in the music industry. But the second reason is a bit more nuanced. Many of you know that I am a music industry headhunter. I run the music practice at Turnkey ZRG, and I place music executives in roles throughout the industry. So by definition and function, I help people connect with companies. In this series, my goal is to help you make more connections, and I invite you to take full advantage of that opportunity. Specifically, I invite you to engage with the speakers and the other attendees in the chat of the Zoom. Please introduce yourselves, share your LinkedIn profile, say hello to your friends, and make some new ones, and ask questions of our speakers. Also, folks, this is very important. Please make sure your chat is set to address everyone, not just the host and speakers. And by the way, that goes for you, Larry and Neal, as well. I want to thank our program sponsors, for without their support, we could not keep this series free. Special thanks to MedJet, Turnkey ZRG, the Tennessee Entertainment Commission, Tennessee Brew Works, and Better Than Booze. So let's get down to business. Today, we welcome Neal Spielberg. Neal's passion for music and family entertainment from a very early age led the way to a career in entertainment sales, marketing, artist management, and spanning over 45 years in total. Neal began his career with Feld Entertainment, which is Ringling Brothers Circus, Holiday on Ice, and Ice Follies. Then he went to WEA Distribution and Warner Brothers Records in Nashville, working with artists such as Randy Travis, Dwight Yoakam, Jeff Foxworthy, Hank Jr., Faith Hill, and Take Six, among others. He then began Spielberg Consulting in 2003, working with several independent record labels and artists, including Merle Haggard, Clint Black, Little Big Town, Neal McCoy, and Texas-based artist Kevin Fowler. In 2010, Neal started Spielberg Entertainment and manages several artists, including Americana Blues and 2023 Grammy-nominated artist Tracy Nelson, as well as Calgary-based blues rock artist Ollie Owens. He helped musical instrument company Yamaha open a branded record label in 2011 with flagship artist musician Nathan East. He also did some consulting with Opry Entertainment, exploiting their vast catalog of audio and video content, as well as ambassador for the Musical Instrument Museum in Scottsdale, Arizona. Neal's a proud member of the Recording Academy, an alum and president-elect of Leadership Music, as well as Americana Music Association and the Blues Foundation. Welcome, Neal. It is such an honor to have you with us today, my friend.
Thanks, Tom. Glad to be here.
And joining Neal is my pal, Larry Butler. Larry has spent his whole career in the live performance side of the music business. He sang and played keyboards and guitar in Ohio bar bands during high school and college, which evolved into booking clubs and concert promoting. He then moved to LA to become a tour manager, working with such diverse artists as Randy Newman, Ry Cooder, and Isaac Hayes. Those efforts led to 20 plus years at Warner Brothers Records as VP of Artist Relations, touring with a world-class roster of artists and receiving a couple of Polestar Artist Development Awards. Although the focus at WBR was to utilize all artists touring to sell records, he also coached many young artists in performance, staging, and media relations. Next, he segued into artist management as GM at Bill Silva Management, where he ran the in-house publishing for Jason Mraz during the 3-year run of Jason's I'm Yours record. Larry now heads up his own Did It Music in Nashville. His main focus is mentoring young singer-songwriters and performers in the art of becoming experienced entertainers. His most recent book is called The Updated Singer-Songwriter Rulebook, 101 Ways to Help Improve Your Chances of Success. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome these two aging rock stars to our platform today. Take it away, boys.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. Wow. Well, my life just flashed in front of my eyes. How about you, Neal?
Same here. Holy cow. Um, what an intro. Thank you, Tom. So Larry, long time no see.
Yeah. What do you know? Imagine that.
At least 24 hours. And but what's new in your world? What's going on with you?
On a daily basis, I'm reminded of the fact that I'm from Ohio. And as you know, but I need to let everyone else know, I have a theory that it's not a theory, it's a proven universal truth. Everyone is either from Ohio or only 1 degree of separation away from Ohio. Your accountant went to school in Ohio, your grandmother lives in Akron, something about Ohio has entered your life at some point because we're everywhere. And you meet so many people from Ohio because anyone with any common sense leaves Ohio. And as a result, we've Johnny Appleseeded across the country and planted trees and helped other people with their lives. What is important about that, and this is a friend of mine sent this to me, it's a quote from Wilbur Wright. When you grow up in Dayton, Ohio, that's all you ever hear about is Orville and William Wright. I mean, it's all about the Wright brothers. And this quote is, and you maybe can't read it, if I were giving a young person advice as to how they might succeed in life, I would say to them, pick out a good mother and father and begin life in Ohio. So, and it worked for him, and it's pretty much worked for myself as well, meaning I'm out of Ohio. Growing up in Ohio, your main goal is to figure out how you're going to get out of Ohio. And I figured that out in high school when some friends of mine formed a band that they were just learning how to play, let alone they couldn't sing and play at the same time. They hadn't mastered that skill yet. So they were doing instrumentals. And I approached them at a party and said, I can be your singer, because I'd been in church choirs and my mom taught piano. So I understood. And they gave me the job of singer. No money in it, but I worked in this band. And we got better and better. Eventually I brought in keyboards because they wanted some more music than the 3 guitars. And I was keyboard and singer and behind the lead guitar player. When we graduated from high school, the Beatles had not even hit yet. So we were already a bar band by the time the Beatles hit. So when people got interested in rock and roll, all of a sudden, we did really well. And in fact, so well that I have another prop here I'm going to hold up. This is ludicrous. I was in a number of bands. One of the bands was called the East Orange Express. They were based in Northern Kentucky. And a few years ago, all of us in the band received the Northern Kentucky Music Legends Hall of Fame Award, which is hilarious because I'm not from Northern Kentucky and I'm not a musician. So it stands proudly on my bookcase. From there, I did 10 years in bar bands. You pretty much you figure out everything. But we owned a club. We had my band and I owned a nightclub. It was an all ages club. So we had one place to play. And we booked everybody in from Procol Harum to Taj Mahal and Alice Cooper and acts of that ilk. And we were the opening act. As a result, we became like the opening act for anybody that came through Cincinnati. So we opened for the Rolling Stones and Beach Boys, not at the same time. It's Jan and Dean, we backed them up, and bands of that ilk that have some merit, obviously. And it was quite an experience and a good reason just to get out of Ohio because these guys kept going and we didn't, we were stuck. So when the bar business started to collapse, I moved to California to LA and got a job as a tour manager. Now, this is an interesting piece of, I don't want to call it wisdom necessarily, but you need to be prepared to lie when you have to. And I was at a party of some friends of mine who were Pure Prairie League. They became the band Pure Prairie League, and they had a big hit record called Amy, What You Gonna Do? And they had a house in the Hollywood Hills, and they were doing wonderfully. And I was sleeping on my brother's couch in Westwood. So I went, and they hired me to go on the road. I did like a couple of weeks with them playing keyboards and stuff. When we got back, they had an after tour party, and they introduced me to their manager, who said to me, have you ever been a tour manager? 2001, 2002? Yes. Why? What did you have in mind? So I got this band on Warner's I just signed, and they've never been out on the road. And I said, piece of cake. That's my stock and trade, working with musicians who don't have any idea what they're doing. Yes, I'm your guy. When can I meet them? I lied, of course. I'd never been a tour manager, but I had some, being a bar band, had some semblance of what they did. Warner's put us out on the road for entire summer for $100,000. They put us out on the road to just go play places and get known. And over the course of the summer, I learned how to be a tour manager. When I got back and the tour was over, I went to the guy at Warner's who was in charge of handing out $100,000 at a time and said, "You need me. I've been in bands, I've been recording, I'm an agent, I'm a tour manager, I've done sound, I've done lights. You have no one else on your staff who's ever done any of those things. You need me for credibility." He said, "Hang around." So he gave me the Randy Newman Short People tour. I was the tour manager. And then Ry Cooder jazz tour. And then I did a side tour with Isaac Hayes in Europe and the UK and South Africa. And coming back from that, somebody quit the artist relations department. I was in the office the day this guy quit, and I got the job, and I was there for 20 years. Now, one of those things we used to do at Warner's when I was out on the road would be we go to fanfare in Nashville. And we don't know which fanfare, but at some point I ran into Neal Spielberg. And
I think it was 1985.
85. We'll pick up the story from there. How'd you get to 85? How did you get to Warner Brothers?
Okay, so started out in retail. My parents owned a record store in Miami. It was an 8-track specialty store back in '69 in Coral Gables, Florida. And I learned how to do inventory and order from a wholesaler, and just kind of learned it from the ground up. Also, very fortunate to have several family members beside my parents in the business. The sales manager, one of the first sales managers hired, was Dave Benjamin at Miami WIA. And he was a great mentor. I actually lived with he and my aunt for several months when we moved to Florida. And he came home every night. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite stories about that is he would come home and be aggravated about a particular account, and it was the Handelman Company. Some of you will know who that is. They put music in the Walmarts and Kmarts and various other big box retailers. And he would come home, and they were always very difficult back in those days in the early '70s, and very feisty. And he would say, that fucking Handelman. So years later, I'm with Warner. I go to Troy, Michigan, suburb of Detroit, for a Handelman meeting, my first Handelman meeting at that. And as they often did, they asked us to provide talent for their meetings to entertain the managers and VPs and so on. And we I brought up, I think it was the Forrester sisters and maybe Gary Morris, who were on the label. And I knew that during the sound, or during the intermission between the two, if I didn't do something to keep them in their seats, they would disappear into the bar and we'd be playing to an empty room. So I had a gold, whatever the latest Hank Williams Jr. gold record or platinum record, and I was going to present it to him during the set change. So I thought I'd have a little fun with it, and I had the record made out to present it to fucking Handelman. Thank you for all your, helping us sell 500,000 records. And I did this spiel about, hey, I really feel embarrassed, but for many years growing up, I thought the name of your company was fucking Handelman because that's the only thing my Uncle Dave would say. Well, they all cracked up except old man Handelman sitting right in front of me. But I weathered that storm, but that was a lot of fun. Anyway, in distribution, I also had an uncle in Philadelphia who owned a big-time studio there called Chips Recording Studio. It was Harry Chippitz, and his partner was Dick Clark. And that was a very prominent studio in the Philly area. Came to, wanted to always, from the age of 13, wanted to be in the music business. And I wanted to work for Warner Brothers. There was no doubt in my mind that was the label to work for. They had the best artists. They had the best album covers, the best advertising, marketing. And it was like, okay, that's my direction. Unfortunately, as my wife often reminds me, man plans and God laughs. And I went on took this little detour called Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus, which was great entertainment marketing, and it's the greatest show on earth, very prestigious marketing company. I was working in radio in Tucson at the time, and he was one of the clients of one of my great mentors that I had in my life, and she included me in all her meetings and so on. And I was starting to be like a junior sales rep, and he was impressed, I guess, with what I was doing and offered me to come to work for Ringling. I turned him down because I wanted to be in the music business. It didn't work out. I moved to LA after school and uh, slept a resume around, a very small, short resume around after college. And after about 6 months of trying and nothing happening, I think it was around 1979, also famous for Black Friday in the music business. I think MCA let go a tremendous amount of people. Everybody was. So I called the circus guy and I said, "Is that job offer still available?" And he said, "Your timing is perfect. We just bought Holiday on Ice and Ice Follies. So when can you start?" I said, "How about like in about 3 hours?" And he said, "Great. In the morning, we're sending go to LAX. There'll be a plane ticket waiting for you. We're sending all the new promoters to the Bahamas for a training session." And I'm like, "I'm in." So they handed me a 3-ring binder and said, "Here's how you here's how you promote a circus or an ice show." And it was literally step by step, week by week. And then as you got the month of the show, it was day by day. And it was actually an owner's manual for how to promote a big show like that. And I always thought, wouldn't that be great if somebody created something like that for the music business? Doesn't exist that I'm aware of. But after 3.5 years with Ringling and living out of a suitcase with no residence, it was time to start to set some roots down. And again, look for Warner Brothers. I wanted to go there. I wasn't giving up on my dream. And that wasn't in the cards at the moment. But home video was starting to happen. Beta VHS tapes, movies, and I went to work for a wholesaler called Sound Video Unlimited out of Chicago. Um, and one of the product lines, in addition to movies, was this thing called Atari video games. Who knew that that would be my ticket to Warner Brothers? So I did that for about a year and a half, and then around early '82, I think it was, Warner bought Atari, and they were looking for sales reps to handle that. And I had product knowledge and regional knowledge, and they sent me to Atlanta, and I was the regional sales guy for Atari video games. I called on all the big music retailers, Record Bar, Peaches, Turtles in Atlanta, and so on. And unfortunately, that wasn't a good match for Warner. So they sold it or got rid of it about 9 months to a year later. And here I am. I finally got my foot in the door at Warner, and it's over. But I made enough of an impression. They sent me to Nashville to be the music and home video rep as kind of an experiment. And after about 6 months, they asked me, "So give us your opinion." I said, "It's two completely different businesses." Um, and they said, "Okay, here's that classic fork in the road. Which path do you choose?" And I said, "Music's what brought me, so that's where I'm going." And I was the local WEA, Warner Electric Atlantic rep, um, for about a year and a half. And in 1985, Warner brought me over to the label. Finally got there, and didn't think it would be in country music, but during the WEA thing, I carried the big bag with all genres of music, all the Warner Music Group labels. But Warner Nashville was getting ready to make their mark in Nashville, because the big labels at that point here were MCA, RCA, Columbia, Sony, and Capitol, Polygram. Warner had a roster, but it was not known as the country powerhouse that these others were. And I got in at the right time. Jimmy Bowen was still there running the label, but he just left about 6 months later to run MCA. And we started signing acts in no particular order, but the Forrester sisters that did well. But then it was Randy Travis and Dwight Yoakam. And a few years later, it was Travis Tritt. And after that, it was Jeff Foxworthy. And one of the things I loved about our company, in particular Nashville, was that Jim Ed Norman, the head of our label, didn't just sign country artists. And it brought us, he went out and signed Take Six, who was a 10-time Grammy winner. He signed Bela Fleck and the Flecktones. And if you're not familiar with these acts, go check them out. You will not be disappointed. I'm trying to think of who else fits in that category. Oh, some guy named Jeff Foxworthy, and took a chance there. So Jim Ed believed in signing artists that were great artists, and we would find a way to get them into the marketplace. And we did. He even went out on a limb and signed a Tuvan throat singer named Congarol Andar, who we got on David Letterman and on the main stage at CMA, the fanfare, before it was Music Fest. And if you could have seen all the hillbillies that were there for, you know, Faith and all these other artists, and here comes a guy who looks like Genghis Khan in all these colored silks and the pointy shoes and the hat, and he's chanting or singing in 3 or 4 notes at a time. They didn't know what to make of it, but it was quite an experience. And that's what we love about Jim Ed, is that he took chances on acts that you would have never seen get signed in Nashville, and probably not in a lot of other places for that matter. So that's how I got to Warner, and spent 21 years here. There was a big shift in 01, 02, 03 in that era. Yeah, that was the big one where the golden parachutes started flying all over the building. I was unfortunately not eligible due to age, too young for that package, but it was a shift in a lot of the Polygram people took over. Roger Ames, I think, became the head of the music group and had strong opinions about country, and they weren't good ones. I think I heard him say a couple times how much he fucking hated country music, but he loved Shania Twain. And he came in and brought most of the Polygram hierarchy, Jim Caparo, John Esposito, John Madison, and several others over to run WIA, which got moved from LA to New York right around that time, slashed the company at least a third. And anyway, it was kind of good news, bad news. Like they said, okay, all 5 of the Nashville WIA labels don't need to have a head of sales. Get rid of them all and find one. And thanks to Fran Aliberti, who's on here, and a couple of others, I was the person that got picked to do that. And for about 6 months, it was awesome. I was head of sales for all 5 labels. And then one by one, the labels fell. They went away or merged or whatever. And we had Warner and Curb were the only 2 left. Giant sold their half to Warner. Atlantic shut down their country division. Elektra or Asylum in Nashville shut down theirs, and I'm missing one other, but anyway, it danced. And then it was a matter when the Polygram people took over, it was get rid of all these people. And okay, so that was the end of my Warner thing, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. I couldn't do what I'm doing now, both in consulting labels and managing artists, if I didn't have that experience at such a high level. And I was part of an amazing team. It really was a team, from A&R to marketing to artist development, every part of it. We were cooking. We just had a nice run. So there you go.
There you go. And that's kind of where the beauty of Warner's was the fact that Mo Austin and Lenny Waronker and Russ Direct hired good people and told them just do your job. There was no micromanaging. You just did your good. Now, that was great if you knew your job. I was brand new to the department, and the guy who I replaced had no idea what he was doing. And so I had to kind of hit the ground running. Fortunately, I was my boss was Carl Scott. The late great Carl Scott, hired me and mentored me through the entire situation. 20 years I was there, and we had a really productive 20 years. You mentioned your binder of job description. Yeah, didn't have one because everybody knew their job. So I had to make one up, which is what I did. In addition, what the key to my binder was, over the years of touring and hitting every venue in the United States, the first thing I would do going into a venue would be to walk down the backstage hallway and find the payphone outside the production office and write down that number. And I had a phone book this thick of pay phones in venues in the United States that you could call on a 24-hour basis, and somebody would pick up the phone. Yeah, what? And you could ask for whoever it was that's probably in the dressing room or in the production office. It always worked. And I passed that information and how to do this job on to a staff that I hired. One was Mary Hyde, who's on our call here. Mary, she's a foreigner now. She's in Canada. Well, she's safe too, so that's good. Hello, Mary. And Charlie Springer's on, and Franny. Good to hear from you guys. At the end of that tenure we were talking about, when people quit buying records, artist relations was one of the first things that went, okay, it was a luxury. It was high paid babysitting, but it was a wonderful gig because I learned, I saw more shows, thousands of performances, and I saw some really good ones and I saw some really bad ones, and I saw a lot that were just okay. And I made a lot of notes and mental notes, and sometimes write them down about, boy, there's something I'll never do, or there's something that no one should ever do again, or here, that worked, I'll be damned. And put those into a book. And so when the Warner gig folded, I joined Bill Silva's management company. Bill Silva was managing Jason Mraz at the time, and I did Jason Mraz's publishing. So I did that for 3 years. And then I started managing singer-songwriters, and I put this book together. Here's a copy of it, the Singer-Songwriter Handbook. Tom mentioned it, 101 Ways to Improve Your Chances of Success. If anybody would like to have a copy of this, send me an email, larry@diditmusic.com. Say, send me the PDF, and I'll send you a PDF of my book. I'd much rather have it in your hands than sitting in some dusty warehouse of Amazon or whatever. But it'll be PDF, and I can email it back to you. So obviously, I'll need your email address, larry@diditmusic. I have several other books to go over, but Neal and I are going to go over that later. And then from when I put the book out, it was very handy. I'm using it as a calling card more than anything else. I got a call from a lady here in Nashville who I'd known from LA, who was a good friend of Carl Scott's, Terry Brown. Terry Brown does a commercial of touring, does corporate endorsements, and she actually put MAC Cosmetics together with KD Lang. KD Lang endorsing a cosmetic is pretty wild, and it worked. And Terry called me and said, I read your book. I love it. You got to come to Nashville. So I took a little kind of reconnaissance tour of Nashville, and she showed me around, and I had to agree. It's not fanfare here no more. Nashville is upscale, uptown, and really knows what's going on. The music business has moved in. Everything, if anything, Nashville's the center of popular music in America right now. It used to be Los Angeles. That's why I went there in 1975 when it was the Wild, Wild West. It ain't there anymore. It's here. It's in Nashville, and I'm happy to be here. And I want to thank Terry publicly for dragging me out of Los Angeles, where I've been for 40 years, and in Nashville.
Where did you spend your first few months when you got here, Larry?
Well, thanks to Tina Spielberg, I was able to inhabit a back bedroom that no one had lived in some time, and I'll be forever grateful to Tina Spielberg for that. Thank you.
Well, we often argue over how long that tenure was at the house. He says it was 3 or 4 weeks. I think it was 3 or 4 months. At least it felt like it.
It felt like it, yeah. Well, for me too, by the way. But if Tina weren't there, it'd have been a real pain.
That's right. Speaking of a real pain.
Real pain.
Yeah, for those of you who might have seen that movie about the 2 young men that go over to Poland to fulfill a wish by their grandmother, Larry and I will be doing something very similar. We're leaving for Poland in mid-July to attend a wedding and do a little sightseeing around the area. of a friend and former client of both of ours, and very excited to take that trip and to take it with Larry. Have a good friend to go with will make it even more fun. Oh, look at that. You're learning
Catch
Polish.
phrases. I'm going to memorize them on the plane over.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Key one is where's the bathroom? Um,
It's there. I'm certain.
so I wanted to talk real quick about, from a sales or marketing perspective, one of the things that I always kept an open mind to is keep an open mind to where the next great idea may come from. And I'm going to give you an example. So back, oh, this is going quite a ways back, 1980s, late 80s. And we, back in that point, Nashville didn't have a whole lot of great restaurants here. But anyway, we'd order pizza from whatever delivery, Domino's, whatever. And the guy became a little too familiar with delivering here. And one day he delivers a pizza. He had seen some of the gold records up on the wall in our house. And I opened up the pizza box and give you an idea how long ago it was. It was a cassette tape uh, with duct tape stuck to the inside of the box. And on the box, he had written, Domino's delivers the hits. So, never to pass up a good idea, we had a Hank Jr. live album come out about 6 months later. So I took that idea and I said, what if we worked with Domino's and they delivered pizzas with box toppers on it, those nasty little sheets, like an 8.5 by 11 that was taped to the top of the box with advertising for your next pizza. Well, I took the Ringling stuff that I learned and said, hey, if we can get them to give us a good sized portion of that box topper to advertise one of our albums, wouldn't that be cool? Free advertising, all this stuff. So we arranged a national campaign around the Hank Jr. Live album. And in particular, the Baltimore Arena was a Domino's Pizza building. So we did a national contest with an account called corporately Music Land, but you might know them as Sam Goody and some of their other brands. And we got exposure on Hank's live album and I think his greatest hits album in a promotional product holder with a ballot or a collection box for the gift cards or the entry blank, sorry, from the music from the box topper, and they advertise it. Coca-Cola helped underwrite it because Coca-Cola is their main beverage company, and we had an incredible promotion nationally. We invited 10 people to you and 9 of your friends come to Baltimore. I think we tied in with one of the airlines, and it was a great promotion, and it didn't cost anybody anything major, and we all won. So again, it was just the idea of keeping an open mind to where great ideas may come from when you're planning your next album release. So I wanted to mention that. Trying to think of what else is going on. What are you doing now, Larry? Not right now, but
Pretty obvious.
going from Warner Brothers forward, what have you been doing?
Well, the basis of writing this book is the fact that I'm actually no book. It's kind of like a book. If you read a book about bicycles, you still wouldn't know how to ride a bicycle, but you know how to not ride a bicycle, and that's pretty much what this book is about. It's like, this is what you don't do, and I've seen this work and it didn't work. Don't try this type of thing. But backing that up is the fact that I do one-on-one instruction, mentoring is a better word, of stage presence and stage production and coaching and that kind of stuff. And really, it isn't so much about songs. Your songs are your songs. I'm happy you have some songs. It's about how you're going to deliver them, how you're going to present them. What are you going to say to the audience? What are you going to do between songs? Freddie Mercury once said that a concert is not a regurgitation of your songs. It's a theatrical performance. There's visual involved, and the visual should take precedence over the audio when you go live. If you've just got a record or to listen to, close your eyes and your ears are the only thing involved. But once you get on stage, open your eyes, a whole new aspect to that song and this music opens up, and you need to utilize that. And initially I got some kickback about the fact that, well, the whole music business has changed. Granted, the music business has changed. Nobody's buying records, for instance. Nobody's manufacturing. Nobody's recording like they used to. No, it isn't being marketed and sold or consumed in the way it was 40 years ago. But 40 years, I'll tell you, one aspect of the music business is exactly the same from 40 years ago: live shows. In fact, if you go to a live show, and I go to any bar in Nashville, and the guitar player is playing a Strat through a Twin, that's exactly what we were doing 40 years ago. And they got Shure mics. I love Shure mics. Shure Beta 58A is the microphone to get. It has a uniform pickup. It's a really great, inexpensive mic, just throwing that out. And that's what I mentor and teach, is what to do visually to vary the visual while your music is being performed. And it's going pretty well. In my book, the number one thing is that if you're going to be in a singer-songwriter, preferably a solo singer-songwriter, because if you're a solo singer-songwriter, then you need all the revenue streams. You've written the song, you own the publishing. You are the singer, you are the band, you are the tour manager, you are the booking agent, you own the master. If you're the solo singer-songwriter, you own all 7 revenue streams. And the moment you join a band or take on co-writers or sell your, all of a sudden those revenue streams get diminished and go away. So the ideal situation to make anything in the music business right now, a la Taylor Swift and Ed Sheeran, is to be a solo singer-songwriter. I listened to a podcast with Ed Sheeran's manager last week, and he was saying that when he first signed Ed came into his office, the manager's office, and was waiting while the manager was on the phone. And the manager was also managing an act named James Blunt at the time, who had a hit record. And Ed Sheeran picked up the day book for James Blunt, or what things James Blunt had to do as far as promoting his record. And when the phone call was over, he said, I read what you got scheduled for James Blunt. I want to work harder than that. And the manager says, you can't work harder. It's every day is something there. He said, I will be working harder than this. And the manager said, and that's exactly what he's done. Ed Sheeran lives, breathes, he has to be doing this, and he does it on a 24-hour basis. So does Taylor Swift. So does anyone who's really successful. They have devoted their lives, often in a derogatory manner, to becoming the artist that they want to be. That's the number one rule in my book.
Well, that's a perfect segue to one of the books I recommend everywhere I go. And I've had the pleasure in the last 3 to 5 years of speaking at different universities at the music business program, and talk about, they want to hear what was your path into the industry, as we're doing today, and advice and such. And one of those books is Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. And it talks about most highly successful people have put in 10,000 hours to their craft before you even heard of them. And he uses the Beatles. He uses in business Bill Gates, and he uses Wayne Gretzky for sports as perfect examples of these people put in their 10,000 hours. The Beatles in particular, playing shitty clubs and winding their way through the industry, learning how it all works. And it was just, it's a fabulous book. I highly recommend it. Unfortunately, a lot of the younger artists that are coming up today, they see American Idol and think, that's it, 12 weeks and you're a star, or 13, whatever it is, 12 or 13 weeks. And I try to debunk that that idea with them. Two other books that I'd love to recommend to people, and I will say that this next one was given to the executive committee at Warner Nashville by Jim Ed, and it was called Who Moved My Cheese? I'm sure that a lot of you are familiar with the book, but in a world that we live in today that is very different from 30, 40 years ago, or even 20 years ago, there's a lot more movement around the industry, people not staying at jobs quite as long compared to our parents that found a job and they retired in that job. Who Moved My Cheese is brilliant. It's helped me as I left Warner, as I went from consulting to managing, and even currently as I like, what's the next chapter in my life? It helped me so much with transition that I highly recommend you take a look at this book or reread it. It's very helpful. And lastly, I had the pleasure and the thrill of working with a super manager named Ken Cragen. For those of you not familiar, he managed Kenny Rogers. That's how I got to know him. He also managed an artist named Travis Tritt and Trisha Yearwood, I believe, but also Lionel Richie and several other majors. He was also profiled as part of the We Are the World spectacular, that song and recording session. And Ken wrote a book called Life as a Contact Sport, and I highly recommend it. It's a little difficult to find, but I think it is on Amazon. But check out Life as a Contact Sport. He really does a great job of talking about how important relationships are and having your relationships throughout the industry to help get things done. Relationships. And I find that a lot of times, at least I'll speak for Nashville, people, young artists come to town. Somebody becomes aware of it, and especially if they have money on their own or their parents do, and immediately let me show you how it's done. And it's before they know it, they've spent anywhere from $10,000 to $100,000 and have nothing to show for it. And it's a lot of what they say is, well, I know this person, or I know that person. Okay, you may know who they are, but do you have a relationship with these people? And that is such a huge difference when how you're able to help an artist move along their career path. So, Life as a Contact Sport is such a wonderful book to check out.
While you're at it, Tom Truitt's typing in the Amazon links to the books you're recommending. So get ready, Tom. Get your typing ready. I got a stack of books here. I'm going to recommend Don Passman's book. This is the 11th edition. I recommend you get the 11th edition because it's wholly updated about streaming and things of that nature. This is the Bible of the industry. And talk about relationships. I have a signed copy of Tom's book on my desk, and he has a signed copy of my book on his. That comes from all my Don's books. So it's easy one to find. This is everywhere. Now, as well as the publishing aspect is represented here, and actually Don called in a publisher to write the publishing section because publishing is so weird, so Byzantine. If it weren't in the Constitution, it would be illegal. It doesn't make any sense. No publishing contract would ever hold up in a court of law if it weren't publishing. And that's reflected here. But see, Don can't say that because he's an attorney with the bar. Randall Wixson is not an attorney. He's a publisher. He was and is Tom Petty's publisher. This is his book. This goes into way more detail and way more inside story by Randall Wixson, and that foreword by Tom Petty. And in the foreword, Tom Petty says, "Randall gets me money I don't deserve." So that's an endorsement of what a good publisher is, and you got to look for one. Next this is very recent. The Songwriter's Guide. It's by Bill O'Hanlon, Nancy Deckant, and Leslie Bowe here in Nashville. It's not a whole lot here, but what is here, every page has everything you need to do to collect and protect your songs. All the forms you need to send in, all the things you need to join, all the way you need to protect yourself and collect some money you don't even know is out there. This is the book to get. It's available at their, what's it called? It's at NashvilleCool.com. Nashville Cool, one word, Cool Nashville, NashvilleCool.com. You can order this book inexpensively, and you'll be worth it. From a head standpoint, there's two things that are stopping you from getting anything done. One is your ego. This is it. A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. It's his follow-up to Power of Now. This is a wonderful book and teach you how to not get rid of your ego. It's never going to go away. I mean, it's the thing that makes you want to eat every day. You got to hang it, keep around, but to temper it down. And in that same light, The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield has to do with the resistance, which again is your ego, but this is the negative side of your ego that you have to deal with. By Stephen, The War of Art. Pretty much that does it for books.
Okay. I wanted to kind of circle back a little bit, and I think this, to me, this is a very important thing. Whether you're a mentor or a mentee, I am, and Larry the same way with Carl Scott and others, are the benefactors of some amazing mentors. For me, it was my parents first and foremost, but I mentioned my uncle, Dave Benjamin at WIA, as well as some of the home office staff, some on this call. Also, there's two other people I want to point out, not more than two, but Nancy Reynolds, who was the sales manager at KTKT Tucson and taught me how to sell radio. But I want to make the point of this as a mentor. It wasn't just go make copies or go get me coffee or or get my laundry or whatever it was. She included me in just about every meeting, took me on sales calls with her, and really taught me how to do the job that she was hoping and thought I could do down the road. If you are a mentor, please invest time in the person that you are mentoring, or that intern that you might see a glimmer of something there. Teach them, give them some of the wisdom that you've accumulated over the years. I can't emphasize that enough. Somebody else that I get choked up talking about, because he was like a second dad to me, but Vic Faraci. And the classiest man in the business for many, many years. Started it in Chicago, moved to LA to work for WIA. And I couldn't ask for a better mentor or boss. And he's a wonderful guy, and we're going to have dinner in LA in a few weeks. But also there are some great people that I met at Warner, Charlie Springer, Jim Wagner, Mo, and Lenny, who, for those of you who don't know, Lenny Waronker was just, or will be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And so many more. It just, I was a great benefactor. So what I've been doing in the last 5 years and continue and actually getting in deeper with is mentoring the next generation of, whether it's artists, young artists that I can help along the way. Artist development is such a key part of an artist's career at the early stages. And unfortunately, and I'm not saying there are no labels that do artist development anymore, but it's certainly reduced from where it was. And just helping them get ready for prime time. It's great that you can sing well and write well and play well, but knowing what's ahead of you, being ready for prime time is such an important thing. It's not ready, aim, shoot. It's ready, shoot, aim. And unfortunately, so many of the younger artists come in and it's not even ready. It's shoot. And artist development is so key. Janice Azrak, who's in the room, probably one of the best ever at that. So again, I work with a great team, and I love going to schools and talking to the young students first and second year, and just giving some advice, experienced advice. but also getting involved with young, uh, the business side of it, whether it's a young person. I just met one yesterday who's an audio engineer. And while I certainly don't have experience in that area, that's where my son is more of an expert than I am. He just showed such a passion for what he does. And it's like, let's go have lunch and just talk about what your dreams and goals are. And you'd be surprised how much it means to that person. You're just giving them, experienced advice. It's so just pay it forward. And I think Tom said it, pay it forward and pay it back. We have a little time for questions.
I'm noticing, I just want to make mention of my old friend Norm Weiner's on the call. And Norm, I'll be looking forward to tracking you down and having a conversation. We haven't spoken in years, but WXRT was a mainstay of Warner Brothers Records. It's almost like we were in the Wii office whenever we would listen to XRT in Chicago, because everything got played. Excellent. I want to this is another book. I can't recommend the book. It's called The Black Swan. I've read it 3 times and I still don't understand it. It's written by some Lebanese philosopher. It has nothing to do with swans or being black or anything. But the key thing, the only thing I can even get out of this book is, in life, the most meaningful things so far, and probably in the future, are not things you saw coming. They are not. Go ahead with your 5-year plan, but take off the blinders, because stuff is going to be coming at you out of left field. And if it's not in your 5-year plan, well, I don't want anything to do with that. That's not part of my plan. Forget, like you said earlier, men make plans and God laughs. Yes, yep. The really meaningful things, like who's your closest relationship? Who you married to? Did you foresee this person as being the person you'd spend your life with? No. Where do they come from? Left field. And that's where the tour manager job I got came out of left field. I didn't expect that to happen. I wasn't looking for a tour manager job. I didn't even know what they did. So it was really the same thing, and that same thing happened to Neal. I got one quick story. You want another story?
Sure, but we also want to leave time for questions.
Okay. When we were running that nightclub back in Cincinnati in the late 60s, we got a call from an agent saying, I've got a new artist coming over from England, a guitar player. His record won't be out till next spring. This was like 68 or 69. It was like 9 months in advance they were trying to book this guy across country. And they wanted to book into my 500-seat club, and they were going to, if we would pay $500 to see this new artist with no record out yet, no tour, no nothing, but pretty well known in England, a guy named Jimi Hendrix. Now, we as a band knew who Jimi Hendrix was because we were monitoring what was going on in the UK, and we said, yeah, we'll take that gig. So we signed up Jimi Hendrix to play at our 500-seat club the following spring. Well, by the following spring, he had put out Are You Experienced and That's As Bold As Love, and he had headlined the Monterey Pop Festival. He was no longer a $500 artist. He was a $25,000 artist, and went to the University, Xavier University across town, to their field house and sold it out, of course. But the agent, knowing full well that we had a signed contract, said, okay, as a consolation prize, we want you to come to the show, watch the show, come backstage afterwards. Jimmy wants to thank you for being an early believer in him. Okay. So my band and I, we actually had a gig that night. We didn't see much of the show because we want to make money. But we went to Xavier University to get backstage. The show's over. Jimmy's in his dressing room for all. He comes out and he's not too sure who we are, but the tour manager says, you know, these are the guys who booked you into that club in town, but we had to pull you out and thought you'd like to say hi to him and thank him. He said, yeah. He said, I said, well, you know, well, we're a band. We have our own club. He said, you're a band? He said, so where do people go after hours in Cincinnati if they want to play? And I said, well, there's nothing in Cincinnati. You got to go across the river to Kentucky. They're open till 4. He said, can we go? I said, sure. So let me get my guitar. He gets his guitar. He gets in our van with my band. And we drive over to Kentucky to this place to get there about 2 in the morning. It's, you know, a bunch of hillbillies. It's Northern Kentucky in 1968. So there was nothing going on rock and roll wise. And in walks Jimi Hendrix in full regalia into this club, and the whole place stops. Like, what the hell is that? So my guitar player knows the band. He asked if we can use their instruments. So Jimi Hendrix jammed with my band at this club. Unfortunately, they didn't have any keyboards in their band, so there was nothing for me to do. But my bass player, guitar player, and drummer got behind, and Jimmy gave him this instruction. He said, 12-bar, blues, shuffle, mid-tempo. Don't pay any attention to what I'm doing. And I'll let you know when I'm done. And it went on for like 10 minutes. And he pulled every trick out of every bag he's ever been in just to play. And when he was done, he was done. We finished our drinks. We went and got in the van. We dropped him off at the Holiday Inn downtown Cincinnati and never saw him again.
Okay.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
I think that's a mic drop right there.
There
But
you go.
it only happened because we're in a small market. You know what I mean? That's what Dayton and Cincinnati, that never would have happened in Los Angeles. If I grew up in LA, none of this stuff would have happened.
Right place, right time.
Right
And that's probably one of your books, isn't it?
Somewhere there's a book being written to that effect, yes.
So,
Here.
gentlemen, we do have a couple minutes left, and I get to ask a couple questions of you guys.
Okay.
First off, because you've been doing this for seemingly ever, what was the very first concert you guys attended that you remember attending, that is?
Go ahead, Larry.
Ray Charles.
Oh, what a great one.
1961, Ray Charles tours through Dayton, and he's still playing the Chitlin circuit. He's playing in some movie theater on the west side of town, on West 3rd Street, which historically was the black side of town. And he was playing a Chitlin circuit event in this movie theater, for God's sakes. And I knew about it. Now, if I said to my parents, I'm going to the west side to watch a show in a theater, they would not have given me the car. But I told them I was going to the downtown library to do some research. And so I had the car, and instead of going to the library, I went to see Ray Charles. I was the only white guy in the place. I was in the balcony with a bunch of black girls who were drinking something out of a bottle, and I was not going anywhere near that bottle. And he was amazing. And the beautiful part was they handed out programs, like folded 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper, and on the cover, Ray Charles appearing this evening was pretty generic, had nothing to do with Dayton. And you open it up and it's just lists of songs. And the headline said, Mr. Charles will be choosing from this repertoire this evening. And I don't have that program anymore. Ugh. But Tom Rowland, who is the Billboard writer who's writing a biography of Ray Charles, asked me about that, and he found one online. He found one of those programs online, so it's in his book. It's coming out soon.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I think for me it would probably Miami. I'm going to say it's either two, but I think the one that I remember the most and that was such an influential part of my wanting to be in the music business would be the Temptations, the original lineup on Miami Beach at the Eden Rock Hotel. And I remember saying, that's what I want to do. I want to be a part of that somehow. And I was smart enough to know that I didn't have the God-given talents, musical talents, to do the performance part. But I was so blown away by the dancing and the music and them all wearing the same suits and the dance moves and so on. And also, and I'm looking across my office, I have a picture of me next to Joe Namath, who was sitting at the table next to us. And he had just won the Super Bowl, 1969. So, or 70, whatever, that season. And that was the moment that I decided I had to be in this business.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to interject. The moment I decided I had to be in the business, it preceded Ray Charles. It was I'm dating myself. Go ahead, do the math. 1957, I went to a movie theater to see Don't Knock the Rock, or one of those black and white spin-offs that just had, Fats Domino and Little Richard come on and play a song for no reason, and then there was a stupid storyline. But during that movie, what was going on, there were couples, like young, teenage couples. I was young, teenagers who were dancing in the aisles and enjoying this movie. And I'm looking around thinking, I want to be in this business. I want to be in this music business that makes people dance. And I don't want to be the dancer. I want to be in the band. And that was my goal from that point on, was to figure out a way to be in a band, to be in the music business, to get people to dance. And 10 years in bar bands, mission
Yeah.
accomplished.
That's great. Well, gentlemen, I'm afraid we're out of time. You know, I was remiss in calling this the smartest people in the room. I should have called this one the wisest people in the room, because you guys have been doing this a long time. You shared a lot of wisdom with our audience today. And on behalf of them, I'm going to say thank you. And I know you both have a lot of gas left in the tank. So there's more wisdom to be learned and shared. So please keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Tom. Thanks
Tom.
for having us.
It was our pleasure considerably. And everybody in the chat room, nice to hear from you. Excellent. We'll be in touch.
Well, it's been great.
Thanks, Franny.
To the audience, you got yourself a real treat today. And we will see you here in 2 weeks. We will not be, actually, sorry, we will be here next week. We will not be here in 2 weeks. So tune in. In the meantime, be nice to each other, and we will see you next time.